I'm sure we've all experienced those games where there's a player that just doesn't belong. Either they're way better than everyone else and you can tell they're a Smurf, or they're terrible and you have no idea how they got to your rank. Well, the way Overwatch's MMR distribution works and the way competitive works kind of allows for a lot of this to happen. Smurfing and boosting, which contributes to these two factors. Someone who's way better than everyone else in the game and someone who's way worse than everyone else in the game. And what we're going to be talking about today is whether or not it's a problem. Not necessarily just smurfing or boosting or any combination of, just the MMR system in Overwatch in general. Does it work, or does it allow for too much give and take? But first, I'd like to talk about smurfing, because it's something that I'd like to address personally as well. I have a few accounts that I play on, 3 actually, and when I don't play on my main account, I often get accused for smurfing. You have people that are very angry with me because they think I'm just going to a lower rank and stomping on people. And while that is true, that is what some smurfs do, it's not what I do, and it's not what everyone does. Let me define 2 different ways of smurfing. The first is the bad way, the way that everyone kind of frowns upon because it is truly a game-ruining experience. These are the Smurfs who throw games to get to a very low rank, they purposely lose, and then once they get to this low rank, they stomp games and completely destroy until they're back up higher again. And what this does is it creates an atmosphere where every single game they're in, they're either stomping people or not trying at all. So it's never fair when they're in a game. This is the type of Smurf that is bad. Yes, and I agree with this. I don't actually do this. I am more of the second type of Smurf. I have alternate accounts, and the only difference I have on those accounts compared to my main is how hard I try. If I try less hard an account and it gets diamond instead of masters like my main, that means I'm diamond on that account. I play like a diamond player because I'm not trying as hard. And then when I've got my other account, one I only play snipers on, well, I'm playing snipers on that account. So if I can get to diamond just playing snipers, is it really smurfing? No, it's just my rank on snipers is diamond. As long as you don't throw on an account and you give games a solid effort, maybe not 100% maximum sitting up straight in your chair effort, just a good amount of effort, you're not really a smurf, you're just playing on an alternate account. It's when you throw games that you're a smurf. Which begs the question, is this a problem? Is there too much of this in Overwatch? Well, here's the thing. I think any amount of throwing is too much in Overwatch. Even if it's just one game is too much. That ruins the experience for 11 other players. Sure, the winning team isn't too disappointed, but they didn't get to play the game. They don't get the satisfaction of knowing they honestly won that game. So ruining the game for 11 players because of one person, if it happens at all, it's too much. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is definitely something that should be looked at by Blizzard. And it is being looked at. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. They actually do try to ban these types of players. If you're a thrower or if you're someone who ruins games, they definitely will try to ban you. My only problem with it is the question of how strict is Blizzard. Now, I personally don't know. I've never experienced their ban system because there's no real way to tell if you got someone banned unless you check up on their profile if you've reported them, which is also kind of a bummer. I think Blizzard needs to really define a way to know if someone actually threw a game, and if they throw a game, it's over. They're done. Maybe one warning, but even one warning seems excessive. Make them buy a new account. It's really, it's not fair to 11 other players when they lose on purpose. And you may think, hey, they were just having a bad day. They threw one game because someone angered them. Well, here's the thing. And it's never really just one game. If you're the type of person that gets angry enough to entirely throw, it's not just going to happen once. It's going to happen more than once. And we really do have a problem where people can just throw games down to a low rank and stomp games back up to the top rank because every single game they're in, they're basically deciding the outcome of. And that really creates some weird distribution of MMR where people are too high or too low compared to where they should be rank-wise. So I think Blizzard should definitely look into a concrete example of what is throwing and what isn't and really step up and enforce it if they really want this to be ended, if they consider it a problem. Maybe Blizzard doesn't because they are the ones with the statistics. I am not. Maybe this isn't as big of a deal as some people think. We'll leave that up to Blizzard. Let's move on and talk about the boosting part of this video. Boosting is like the opposite of throwing, although they are somewhat tied together. Sometimes someone will throw to get to a very low rank, and then they'll play with someone else, and they'll be able to carry that someone else because of their lower rank and effectively boost them to a higher rank. Because the average is lower, the other person can still compete in the games, but the person who threw their games is just way better than everyone else, and they stop. And you don't even need to throw to do this. Some people just make new accounts. Some people play on other accounts. There's a lot of different ways that you can boost someone's rank, and we're going to talk about whether or not that's a problem. The act of it happening is, yes, it's a problem, but do I see it often, and is it a big problem enough for Blizzard to really worry about it? I actually don't think boosting is very prevalent in Overwatch. I know it exists, and I know it's somewhat easy to do if you know how to do it, but I don't know how prevalent it actually is. I do think, however, there is a problem where people boost without actually boosting, and by this I mean they just queue with different types of people, different ranks of people, to change the game's SR average and use that to their advantage. And you really can't call that boosting if both people are on their main accounts. Like if someone in high platinum wants to queue with someone in high gold or low gold, they can, even though those skill ratings are vastly different because there's that 1000 range. So that can really mess up the game's SR average, and Blizzard doesn't really calculate it very well. It doesn't really do a good job of putting those people into an even game. So along the lines of intentional boosting where someone throws to, lower their SR and then raise someone else's, I don't actually think that's too bad. And if it is a problem, fixing the smurfing problem by just banning people who throw more effectively will kind of solve that problem. However, I do think SR manipulation is kind of busted, and I say that genuinely. It's really kind of weird. People can definitely and do definitely queue with different ranks of players to change the SR average of games to either gain more for wins, lose less for losses, or just make games, more in their favor. And that I don't think is cool. Basically, what you can do is queue with someone way lower than you and stick them on a non-impact role, like Lucio. Most of the time they're on Lucio, or queue with someone way higher than you, and then you play Lucio. And the way it works is you'll get put with players around your SR average. So if you have someone that's 2,000, queuing with someone that's 3,000, the game's SR average will be about 2,500. Which means all players, except for you and your partner, will be around 2,500. So if you go on someone like Lucio, and your partner goes on someone like McCree, and he's a really good McCree, and he can, carry with it, the game's going to be skewed. Your team is going to have an advantage, because the worst player on your team is playing Lucio. And I'm not going to, try to diss Lucio mains or anything. I love playing Lucio. He's so much fun. However, he's not a carry hero. So when you stick that person on Lucio, and everyone else in the game is the same rank, except for the person that's on, McCree, that team is going to have an advantage. And this problem, I think, is a problem, and it can be solved quite simply by making it so everyone can only queue within 500 SR of someone else. You shouldn't be able to queue a diamond with a gold player. That's just too big of a gap. It needs to be 500 SR across the board like it is in Masters, because it's just not fair otherwise. I don't think that 1,000 difference should be a thing. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to click the video on screen. Definitely don't like it though. Every time you like this video, instead of clicking the video on screen, a Hanzo main is born. So let's keep Overwatch clean here. Click the video on screen. Let's make some Lucio mains and make things good. I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.